All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up there. Um, Boss is already here begging, so he knows what time it is. But yes, welcome back, everybody. Neo, Irfin, Craig the Tech Guy, Dwayne, Virgil, Lady Gamer, Solid Snick. I don't like that. I don't like that. State of play this week. Yeah, we got a new angle, Irfin. We got a new angle. I have a different display now. So had to change up the angle a little bit. Hopefully it looks good. You can let me know what you think of it. Nightmare, what's going on, man? Effective 458 says PS Pro is the best place to play. Well, we're going to be talking about an $800 Xbox Series X, guys. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how we got here. But there is an $800 Xbox Series X out there. We will discuss another price increase from Microsoft, man. Makes me wonder if the same thing's going to happen to Sony. I really hope not. But holy hell, if Xbox wasn't selling consoles already, this ensures they're going to sell none, like at all, pretty much. So that's one of the topics we're going to be talking about today. Xbox is like dead. I mean, the console, yeah, the console is. It's real bad. So we'll talk about that because that just kind of came out of nowhere. I think that was actually announced like immediately after my last stream ended. But we're also going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid because there is a Metal Gear Solid hotline happening this week where Konami is going to be talking about the multiplayer mode, but they're also sending out a survey and they're asking people what remake they want to see next. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about the fact that I platinumed Metal Gear Solid Delta. I actually got the platinum yesterday, so I want to talk about my experience with that. And we're going to be talking about Ghost of Yotei a little bit. We have apparently information about the budget of this game. And apparently it's pretty much exactly the same as Ghost of Tsushima's, which is very low compared to most other AAA games. But on top of that, and we will cover this later in the stream, I understand if people want to dip out when we cover it, but I feel like it would only be the responsible thing to do. We actually did get an official statement from the studio on the situation that happened last week. So I told you guys if they said something officially, I would inform you and let you know. So we'll talk about that later. And I'm sure we'll talk about some other topics as well. But we do seemingly have a PlayStation event coming up this week. And I think it's more than safe to say it's a state of play, right? Come on, boss. You know, hold on. I'm curious. I want to see if boss. I'm going to bring my other chair over here. I want to see if boss lays in it. Come on. Come up here. Come here. I got you your own chair. He's just looking at me. Don't act like you weren't sleeping on that chair earlier. He knows. He knows. Oh, yeah. Silent Hill F this week. Yeah. Yeah. I keep forgetting that's happening this week. Come on. Okay. He just thinks he's getting treats. Oh, thank you for that 8-bit retro monkey. I appreciate it. Nate the Hate says the event should be announced early in the week since it'll air by midweek. Well, yeah, I'm thinking the announcement will probably happen tomorrow. You know, I could see it happening on Tuesday or Wednesday, but yeah, it within the next 3 days, I think we're going to be getting that state of play. So, Chase, you weren't happy with the statement? Well, I mean, they're very much in a damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. No doubt about that. If there's one thing that's been proven this week is that that's the case, where they're just not going to be able to please everybody, you know? It's your birthday next Sunday, Lady Gamer? That's exciting. Yeah, we played Stray. I got the platinum for Stray. It's a good game. Very good game. Yeah, that's what we've been hearing is there's a new Wolverine trailer ready to go. Michael, what's up, man? Eagles Sunday. Fly, Eagles, fly, right? Dan just says, I'm tired of you people. Mr. B, you got the Death Stranding 2 platinum. Finally. Yeah, dude, I feel you there. It takes way too long. So congratulations on that, Mr. B. That's a good platinum. All right, come on, boss. There we go. See, I told you, Jole right there. He's got his own seat now. Lay's looking over like, yeah, he better be laying over there. Come take my spot. Nick's rooting for the Steelers. Took you over 100 hours? Yeah, dude, it took me like 127 hours. Mr. B, it took you 190 hours. Damn, dude. That's a lot, yeah. That's almost 200 hours. Boss is the co-host, yeah. The platinum for Monster Hunter World and Iceborne took you 1,300 hours. 1,300 hours, dude. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. Now we have two cats at the same time. Spice King says 200 hours for a platinum is diabolical. Yeah. But then he says, I retract my statement, 1,300. Yeah, 1,300, that's, for a platinum, that's insane. I think that's across 2 games, but still, that's insane. I mean, I put over 1,000 hours into some games, but like live service games. Oh, so are you serious? You're still going to kick Lay off? He's just too antsy. He needs treats. Well, guys, before we dive into the topics, you know how we do it here. If you want to support the channel and support the community, we're completely fan funded. You can become a channel member, gift memberships, drop super chats, direct donations. All of that stuff helps contribute to the channel and allows me to do what I do here. So a big thank you to everybody who does that. And yeah, make sure you hit that like button, guys. We're sitting at almost 40 likes. We could easily, I think, get to 50 at the very least, but we'll push for 75. Josh, you're saying you finished Sea of Stars recently, great RPG, and further proof that smaller indie titles are the future of quality in the industry. Is that the one that which is that the one that was free on PlayStation Plus, or am I getting that confused with something else? Lady Gamer says 150 likes. We might be able to. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And we have Jonathan coming in, dropping a member gift for you guys. Jonathan, thank you so much for that, buddy. You've been coming in here and dropping single member gifts pretty much at the start of every stream. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
Good stuff, bro. I will add that to the counter. And yeah, let's talk about Metal Gear, okay? I'm eager to talk about Metal Gear because, like I said, I platinumed it. But apparently Konami is going to remake more Metal Gear games, which I think is not surprising. But so it says here that Konami is scheduled to host another Metal Gear Solid production hotline live stream next week as part of Tokyo Game Show, focusing on the online Fox Hunt mode for Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. There will be a survey going out after the showcase wraps up, asking fans on their thoughts, but the questions have already made their way online. The most interesting questions have been shared online by the Metal Gear Network social media account. And one of the questions asks the following quote, please select all of the following Metal Gear series titles that you would like to see remade, end quote. Now, the only one that's not on here, obviously, is Metal Gear Solid 3 for obvious reasons. But they list every title here. And what's very interesting to me is they even list, let me see. Sorry, I was making a really strange sound. Um, yeah, they say please select all of the following Metal Gear series titles you would like to see remade: Metal Gear, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. It's funny that they put Ground Zeroes on there, but what's most interesting to me about this is the fact that they put the original Metal Gear games. So this seems to indicate that they are potentially it's they could potentially remake the two original Metal Gear games. And we've talked about this for quite some time now about how it would be insane. Um it would be insane if they were to do something like that, because that would not be a remake, that would be a complete reimagining. Maybe it's too soon for something like that, but this just pretty much confirms to us that Metal Gear Solid Delta was successful enough that they're going to remake more Metal Gear Solid games. And if I was able to choose which game I wanted to see remade, I would probably do I mean, I kind of want to do Peace Walker because that would be like the next one in the timeline, but at the same time, a lot of people really want Metal Gear Solid 1. So, seeing what they could do with Metal Gear Solid 1, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing with remaking Metal Gear Solid 1, um, the problem that I see there, a potential problem, is that they would have to do, I think, a lot more. I think I don't want to say it would fall in line with a reimagining. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but it would walk that line between a remake and a reimagining. It would land somewhere in between, because there's no denying, at least in my opinion, that Metal Gear Solid 1, it is a PlayStation 1 game and it's very outdated in many ways. So the real problem, I think, and I was thinking about this. I'm like, if you look at Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid 3 has just flat out more features than both Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2, but especially Metal Gear Solid 1. So if you think about it, if they were to remake Metal Gear Solid 1 the exact same way that they remade Metal Gear Solid 3, it would be, I think, a somewhat shorter game. It would be a more confined game. It would be a game that removes features like the stamina bar, taking care of your own injuries, hunting for food, obviously. And there would just be a lot of aspects of the game. Like, there are a lot of things there that I would, because you have to imagine that Metal Gear Solid Delta probably brought on a lot of new people who never played Metal Gear for the first time. So if you do go from like Metal Gear Solid Delta remake to MGS1 remake, you know, you're gonna notice that, like, man, this is seemingly a somewhat, a smaller game in a lot of ways, and a more confined game, like I said. And you also have to think about how, if if you look at the changes they made for Metal Gear Solid Delta, basically going over the shoulder, making it a proper third person shooter, I do think it made Metal Gear Solid Delta, like playing through MGS3, because they did keep all of the areas the same. It made it a little bit easier, all in all, because you didn't have to fight the camera so much. In Metal Gear Solid 1, if they were to apply the same thing, I mean, dude, I think that's going to kind of break the game potentially. Do you get what I'm saying? Where, like, the camera angle in Metal Gear Solid 1, it's not something that you fight against per se, but it's It's there and it's done in a way where like it's possible. It's it's possible. I don't know if that came through by the way, because I just realized I had the speech to text on. Hold on. It's possible they could, go with the third person over the shoulder, but Michael Werneth, bro, he comes in with the $2 super chat and he says, "Good faith contribution. Please like the video." So he's not even gonna set a goal today. He's just doing it in good faith. He drops 20 memberships for you guys. A 20 bomb. Oh my god, boss, why are you that close to me, bro? So we are close. He sets you up. Um, 5 more memberships. Actually, not 5 more, 4 more, because he brings us to 21. 4 more memberships, and we can feed the beast here. He's clearly very desperate. Michael, thank you so much, man.
Holy shit.
Dark Horse, we'll talk about that in a moment. So good stuff, Michael, bro. Thank you for everything you've been doing for the channel and the community this past 2 weeks, man. You've been definitely Don't scratch me. Yeah. Dude, that hurt. You've been definitely dropping a lot of support here, and we definitely recognize it, and it's been helping a lot, man. So Michael, thank you so much for all you do for me, my family, and the community here, buddy. But yeah, guys, we'll see what we can do. We're sitting at 21. Boss is literally at the point where he's scratching me. So 4 more memberships and we'll hit the first goal. We'll see if we can do it. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And if you did get gifted a membership, go check out the last members lounge we did. We did a deep dive discussion on the state of PlayStation and their studios. You do it because Wes is holding you hostage and requiring it. Keep up the good work, Wes. Keep applying that pressure. No, but really, I appreciate it, man. So yeah, Dark Horse is he's asking if I've seen rumors about the upcoming ports. I know exactly what he's talking about. If you go over to the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, unless it was removed, I think it was actually removed. No, it's still there, but it's labeled as false now. It was posted 8 hours ago. It says Horizon Zero Dawn coming to Xbox. I can't post images, so I'm going to post the original post from Reddit. Basically, there's a link to the Xbox store for Horizon Zero Dawn. If you look at it on Google, once you go there, it leads to the German Xbox store that states the URL they were looking for cannot be found. Maybe there will be an announcement soon. But if you go to the replies, everybody's pretty much pointing out that this is nothing new. This has been there this whole time. This has been there for years. So this person says that link has been there for years because of the PC version. Uncharted also has one. The Last of Us has one. Spider-Man has one. Pretty much every game has one. And so people are posting the images of this and proof of it. And, it's funny because I've already seen some people on Twitter, surprise, surprise, like celebrating. And I guess, it's like, guys, come on, man. Like, pump the brakes a little bit. You give it at least a little bit of time to find out what's going on here. And yeah, it's not that. So this has been labeled false. It doesn't mean it couldn't happen, to be clear. Like Sony could announce anything at any time. But I'm just saying this particular link that people are finding has been there for years. So, I wouldn't jump to any conclusions because of that. Because I'm certainly seeing some people jump to conclusions. There's going to be some new Horizon. Dude, they're going to announce the Horizon multiplayer game as the big final announcement at the State of Play. Yeah. It's just an indexed link. Happened for Nintendo games as well. Yeah, I mean, I understand why people, because when I first saw that, I was like, oh shit, like, what did I miss? But then, yeah, I was like reading the replies and it's just like, no, this is nothing. Like, oh, okay. We need more Horizon. We need to see Herman Hulst cosplaying as Aloy, expressing his excitement for the Horizon series and how he can't wait to announce 3 more Horizon projects. Horizon fanboys unite. Yeah, guys, make sure you're hitting that like button, by the way. We're at 61 likes. Michael dropped 20 membership gifts for you guys in good faith. We could easily get that to 100. Push for it. Push for 100. Wait, Neil, you're saying like not joking? Damn, Neil, that's pretty intense. Yeah, hopefully, in that case, hopefully no Horizon shows up. We don't want to see Horizon. Yeah, no more Horizon. And Corey the Legend Landiga comes in out of nowhere and drops the 5 memberships for you guys. We know why he does it. He does it for Boss, and this time Corey's able to get us over the 25 mark. And we can now feed the beast.
Boss, do you read me? It's time to feed the beast.
Some coffee? Now I'm just going to mess with him a little bit. Bro. I got you. We'll give you some treats. Come on. Corey, thank you so much for the 5 membership gifts, man. Boss is very happy about that because he was starting to go a little crazy. Nothing new there. But that brings us up to 26, guys. So thank you so much. Very early in the stream, and we're already over the first goal. So we'll see if we can hit a second as the stream goes on today. Boss plays no games. No, he does not. He's not messing around. I even brought him over his own chair, and he kicked Lay off. So you should chew your treats, boss. Don't inhale them. But yeah, thank you guys for your continued support. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. That's a topic we have lined up. But, you know, when I was talking about the Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, do you guys understand where I'm coming from? How, like, I fear that if you take the third-person camera, the kind of proper third-person over-the-shoulder view that you put into Metal Gear Solid Delta, and if you put that into a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, I feel like it kind of breaks it. More so than, you know, an MGS3 Delta it worked. So I don't know. I really don't know how they would remake Metal Gear Solid 1. I feel like they would be much more nervous about remaking Metal Gear Solid 1 compared to 3 because, again, 3, I think, is in that perfect place where you don't have to change pretty much anything except just a couple of animations and camera angles. Everything else stays exactly the same. And I was afraid when I played Metal Gear Solid Delta that I was going to feel like, oh, yeah, I could tell that this is a 2004 game. And to be fair, there are a few areas where you can tell that this was a game made, you know, in the early 2000s, but it still kind of holds up. I feel like with Metal Gear Solid 1, though, that's just simply not going to be the case. Yeah, they're going to need to really kind of rework some things. And I think they're at a much greater risk of potentially upsetting some of the fan base by changing certain things or certain aspects that, you know, because you look at Metal Gear Solid Delta, and I saw a lot of people basically saying that they wanted to see Konami change more. But, you know, I think it's obvious that if they decided to change more, more people would be freaking out and getting upset about it and saying, no way. How could you change this? You know, like, don't mess with Kojima's work here. This is why I feel like, but you have kind of this conundrum, right? Where if you go to Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker next, and we did talk about this recently, but now that they're asking people what they should do next, if they go to Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker next, there's an even bigger problem there potentially where it's like Peace Walker is a very different video game from, like, for example, there's the cutscenes in Peace Walker are like comic book panels. So what do you do there? Like, do you just stick with that? I mean, I'm assuming you stick with that. But then if you look at the gameplay is the gameplay of Peace Walker is actually very similar in a sense to MGS5, the Phantom Pain, where you have that mission structure where you can just kind of pick which missions you want to do in the order you want to do them in. Um, but the way you approach it's almost like a Monster Hunter type game in a sense, though. But in Metal Gear, we're not hunting literal monsters, but like the way you approach, you know, tank battles and chopper battles, and they're kind of like boss battles. It's a super interesting game. It's very different. Peace Walker is a fantastic game that I would love to see remade, but my concern is maybe that needs to come later, because if you introduce that now, moving forward, you're going to be stripping away more and more mechanics. And I feel like with MGS3, you're already at that point where, like I said, if you move on to MGS1, there are certain mechanics you have to strip away that you cannot replace because they're just fundamentally not baked into the game. Maybe Konami could emphasize the lighting slash shadow in Shadow Moses. Yeah, they'll have a path traced Metal Gear Solid 1 remake. I was thinking about that. I was thinking maybe they don't change much, but what they maybe end up doing is just cranking the graphics to 11. Maybe to be like a PlayStation 6 game. PlayStation 6 Metal Gear Solid 1 remake, where you can maybe play over the shoulder or new style as they call it, but it is the same game. It's just the graphics are. But I don't know, would they use the voice lines from Twin Snakes though? Because they kept all the voice lines for MGS3. And I know that the original recording for Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1 was a little bit rough. And if I'm not mistaken, they re-recorded all the lines for Twin Snakes. So I don't know if they would reuse that or not. Yeah, that's true, Eternal. Yeah, Phantom Pain built off of Peace Walker in a few different ways. Well, all I know is that I'm glad to hear that they're going to be remaking more Metal Gear games, because I think they need to remake all the mainline games, dude. I think it's just the troubling part for them is which order do you remake them in. But I also want to say I'm extremely excited to hear about the Fox Hunt multiplayer mode. They're doing a whole dedicated stream towards it at Tokyo Game Show, which is fascinating to me because I'm like, well, maybe this mode is going to be a little bit bigger than I thought. The fact it's taking so long for them to finish, and yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming they'll give us a release date, but as I said, I platinumed Metal Gear Solid Delta, and it feels great, man. Like, the longer I played it, the more I was enjoying it, the better I was getting at it. I've really gotten a good feel for Metal Gear Solid Delta and how it feels to play. And I feel very much ready to play this multiplayer mode. And I do hope it's a little bit bigger than we think, because I'm telling you, man, the mechanics are incredible. I don't think Konami's going to go back to using the Fox engine. I doubt it. I think they're just going to stick with UE5 for better or for worse. What's my next game? Thinking about trying Dying Light. I'm playing Skate as well. I want to platinum Skate, but I realize there's a fatal flaw. Not fatal, but a very annoying flaw. So I've been telling you guys that I've been playing this Skate game, and I've been playing it online at night with a couple friends. And there's like 22 trophies to get the platinum, and I think I have half of them already. And I'm just like, I don't think that this is a game I'm going to play for months down the line. It's okay. Like, it's fun for a little bit. So I was like, all right, let me just look over the trophies and see if it's worth just getting the platinum. And everything is doable, except there's this one trophy where you have to get 11,000, what they call RIP score. And I'm at like 1,000. Now, I've played this for probably like 10 or 12 hours so far, and I'm at 1,000. And I'm like, well, geez, that's it seems like it's going pretty slow. Like how what's the most effective way, or how do you level up this rip score? They have loot boxes in this game, and you get free currency or points or whatever. I think they're called rip something. I don't know all the terminology they use, but you just grind through the game, you just play it, and you get free currency, and you can use that to open these boxes. But apparently, the way you level up your rip score fastest is by opening these boxes. And I'm like, that's crazy that they've attached a trophy that requires a pretty ridiculous amount. 11,000 is a lot considering how slow this goes up. They've just attached a trophy to opening loot boxes essentially. And yes, you can buy premium currency. They have up to like $100 worth that you can buy. And yeah, it's pretty damn annoying because I'm like, this seems like a relatively simple platinum except for that. So I might just chip away at it because my friends are playing it too. It's like, well, I'm not taking it super seriously, but you think Skate's bad? It's okay. There's something about this game that I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something about it that's not gelling. I don't know what it is. I want to play Mafia the Old Country at some point. I want to play Silent Hill, which is coming up. I want to play Ghost of Yotei. So I'm just glad I got the Metal Gear Solid Delta Platinum done because I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. I thought it was going to take a lot longer. It took me like 41 hours. And Hellbound 1981, another legend shows up. Hellbound comes in and he drops another 5 member gifts for you guys. And that brings us up to 31. So the member train keeps rolling. We're making good progress towards the goal of 50. So Hellbound, thank you so much, man. Well, yeah. They definitely have a lot of stuff like that in there. I admit I'm partial to Witcher in 3. Looking forward to the next Witcher title. Corey's obsessed with The Witcher 3. But yeah, when it comes to getting the platinum for Metal Gear Solid Delta, I was very intimidated by it, and I didn't realize how quickly I was going to be able to obtain it. I thought it was going to take much longer. Truthfully, I thought it was going to be something that would take like all the way up till maybe like Ghost of Yote coming out. And Lady Gamer, using her member milestone, she's been a member for 19 months. Lady Gamer, thank you for that. We could throw that on there. Good stuff. No, I'm not making fun, Corey. I'm not. It's all good, bro. It's all good. Witcher 3 is a great title. People love The Witcher 3. Thoughts on the PS5 Pro so far? It's a bit mixed. When the PS5 Pro is being utilized properly, it feels great. It really does. I think you can clearly see that when PSSR is taken advantage of and when it's properly optimized for. Oh, Mr. B, really? Really? Where did you find this out? Because, yeah, we talked about this on the last stream, and I was under the impression, based off of an article I came across, that it was not PS5 Pro enhanced. It shows up on the store now. Okay. I wonder what the enhancements are. That's good news then. That's reassuring because it was looking not great, But yeah, when the PS5 Pro is taken advantage of and actually optimized for properly, it's fantastic. It's definitely much better than the base PS5, but in some cases it's much more subtle. You don't really know. You wouldn't notice it unless it's being compared side by side. But then you have instances where developers are not taking advantage of it, and so I think I would say it's been good so far. I wouldn't say it's been great or fantastic or phenomenal. I would just simply label it as good. A lot of games I played are PS5 Pro enhanced. They do look good. They do look better, and they do perform better. But yeah, it's not like a night and day difference or anything like that. Usually, in most cases, but we'll see. Upscaled 1440p, 60 FPS for performance. That's pretty good, actually. That's actually really good, I would say. Yeah, FF7 Rebirth is Pro enhanced. That's one of the best Pro enhancements that I think is out there. So, well, you're saying you just got out from it and the performance mode is blurry. You're saying, Marius, are you saying you were playing Dying Light, the Beast, on the PS5 Pro in performance mode and it looks blurry? I have the game installed and I'm going to be playing it soon. So I'll let you know. Hmm. That's annoying if it's blurry. I wonder why. Base PS5 is upscaled 1080p 60 FPS in performance. Okay. They don't have a physical copy of Dying Light the Beast. They said they might do one later on, but right now they don't have one, which sucks. The internal resolution's very low. Well, this is why I'm curious to see what happens next year with the Pro and the PSSR update, because yeah, you could tell some developers have had some issues, you know. Some engines are maybe not as compatible, or it takes maybe a lot more work depending on what game engine they're using. So we'll see what this big PSSR update does next year, and if we start seeing developers doing, much better things with it than what they're doing now, much more easily and much quicker, more rapidly, I think that'll be a good sign. You think something's wrong with PSSR? I don't think there's something wrong with it as much as it might be a compatibility thing. It's hard to say. It usually has to do with the game engines, but we'll see. Yeah, I'll try Dying Light out myself, I think, when I get the opportunity, and I'll see for myself. But yeah, when it comes to getting the platinum trophy for Metal Gear Solid Delta, it took me about 41 hours, and I think that's a little bit on the longer side, but I took my time with it. I did a couple streams playing it as well with you guys. And yeah, man, I think that I would say that Metal Gear Solid Delta lived up to the hype, certainly. It still has some performance issues that need to be ironed out, but generally speaking, it's Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. And in my opinion, it's one of the all time great games. And it's crazy to just see how good it looks and to see a game like this at this level of fidelity. Um, but yeah, everything was there, man. You got to collect the 64 Keraton frogs, 64 Gakko ducks, um, the Foxhound rank. So for me, because people were asking me like how it was to platinum this game, the most difficult thing you have to do in this game, in my opinion, is get the Foxhound rank. And with the Foxhound rank, the way I did it is I just basically had to keep reloading my autosaves. The Pain boss battle was particularly annoying. Out of all the boss battles I did in my extreme mode Foxhound run, the Pain had to have been the most annoying because I don't know, I guess they made him more powerful, or his armor or something, his B armor, whatever it was. They made it more powerful. And that I think it took me like straight up a couple days where I kept getting pissed off. And I ended up having to reload my save and keep trying to beat this guy. And for those who don't know, to get the Foxhound ranking in Metal Gear, specifically in MGS 3, you have to play the game on the hardest difficulty. You have to have 0 alerts, 0 kills. You can't lose more than 5 health bars worth of health. Um, you have to, I believe, not use any special items. And what else is there? I think there's a couple. You have to make sure you don't sustain more than 20 serious injuries. And yeah, there's like a lot of different parameters that you have to abide by, and you have to beat the game in 5 hours or less. That's a big one. You have to beat the game in 5 hours or less. So there's a lot of specific requirements to hit the Foxhound rank, and you know it was difficult, but overall it went more seamlessly than I would have expected. Again, it took me a couple days with that pain boss fight where I was just getting so mad. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to come back to this. But trying to think if there's any other particular area. Another part of the game that I actually did have to look up a guide for because I was really struggling is when you're escaping Groznygrad, the fortress after you get caught. Um, Escaping that without being alerted in the hardest difficulty is very annoying, actually. So I had to look up a guide for that part. And yeah, other than that, after I got the Foxhound rank, I was like, all right, well, time to do another New Game Plus playthrough. When you beat the game and get a Foxhound rank on Extreme, you get the stealth camouflage. So I had fun just kind of using that and messing around with enemies and playing through it that way. And then I just got all the collectibles. One of the more annoying trophies is you have to get all of the animals. You have to capture every animal and eat every animal, and fruit and everything that you can get that Snake can eat. You have to do it. You have to max out your food collection. So I did that. And yeah, overall, man, I gotta say it was a lot less painful to get this platinum than I originally anticipated it would be. And it's interesting because with every other Metal Gear Solid game that I played in the past, I don't think I've ever done everything. Even though they're my favorite games of all time, I've never really got 100% on any of these games previously because I don't know, I never really felt like I wanted to. I was always afraid it was going to ruin the experience. But this time around, I was like, you know what? I'm looking over the trophy list. It looks pretty doable. I'm a little bit intimidated, but I'll go for it anyway. And so it was worth it. And yeah, so that's another one down. So apply my last two platinums are two Kojima games, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, and now Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater. So that's platinum number 51. Did you watch the reels? The boss scene is nightmare fuel. No, I have to go back and watch some of that stuff. I was checking out the extras, but I didn't click on any of them. I was just looking over actually my food collection in the extras. But yeah, I'll have to go watch the reels. Ray, what's up, man? Glad you could join us. Mr. Din, you're loving Metal Gear Solid Delta. Yeah, it's really good. I'm telling you, man, I'm very excited to see what Konami is going to be saying about this Fox Hunt game mode. I'm very excited about it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm hoping that it's bigger, or they're planning on doing more with it than they let on originally. Because I don't know. They're giving it its own live stream. They're giving it its own separate release. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to end up being Metal Gear Online, but it could be clearly the closest thing to it. All I know is I'm ready for it. No, they said they're working on a performance update. So I'm thinking that when they release the Fox Hunt mode, they might release a big patch for the game as well. That's my guess anyway. They didn't confirm that that's when it's coming, but yeah, that's funny, right? You're like, oh, MBG posted a video. Oh wait, he's live. He's live. Not a trophy hunter back in the days. Well, prior to trophies and achievements, you would try to get 100% for games. And it's funny because like my cousin played all these games too. My cousin introduced me to the Metal Gear Solid games, and he would always do that. He would 100% the Metal Gear Solid games, the Grand Theft Auto games, and I was always kind of jealous. But when I would play on his file or when we would hang out, be like, oh, here's Metal Gear Solid 2 with stealth camo, and I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like, how do you do that? And then when he would tell me like, oh, you got to hold up every guard, I'm like, I'm good. I'm not doing that. Like, There's just no way I'm doing that. Or the infinity bandana or something. And so I guess, yeah, once trophies and achievements come into play, it changes my mentality on it a little bit. Um, but then again, also at the same time, and you know, this even more credit to my cousin for doing this back in the day. I think he used to get like strategy guides too to help him. But you know, we live in a time now where like I could just YouTube everything. You know, anytime I get stuck, I can just YouTube it and look it up, and so it makes trying to achieve some of these platinum trophies much easier. I could tell you right now, when it comes to that one section in Metal Gear Solid Delta where you're trying to escape Groznygrad, in the last area where you have to get to the back corner to find the manhole. If I didn't look up a guide for that, I don't think I was going to get that because the guide that I found, this person was like, you got to pick up 3 smoke grenades and you got to throw them at these exact spots. And then you have about 3 seconds to like run and dive. And if you time it just right, nobody will notice you. And I'm like, dude, I would have never even remotely thought of that. So I probably would have been stuck on that forever. I'm sure there's more ways around it or like getting through it than just that one way, but that was such a hyper specific way to overcome that obstacle that it's like, yeah, if it wasn't for that guide being just readily available, I would have been stuck forever. More than likely, anyway. But most of the game in Foxhound mode, I was able to just kind of get through on my own, not really needing to watch guides. I watched another guide for the pain boss fight, but that didn't really help. I'm just like, I'm just gonna have to get through this the old fashioned way. Um, who else did I look up a guide for? The Volgan fight was a little bit difficult. Specifically, I forgot that when you get Volgan's health bar down to half, or his stamina bar, when you get it down to half, there's a cutscene that plays, and he does this special move where he like explodes bullets in like a 360-degree range, and he kept when you're playing in extreme mode, it kills you in one hit, and so I just kept dying. Like I'm like working to get his stamina bar halfway every time, and then I'm just dying, and it's like, okay, well, what the hell am I doing wrong? And I had to look up, and all you had to do, and I don't know why I didn't think of this, you just have to lay down. If you just lay down when he goes to do that move, you're completely unaffected by it. I'm like, oh. And so once I figured that out, I'm like, okay, now I just instantly beat him, like, first try. But yeah, man, I highly recommend Metal Gear Solid Delta. Although maybe if you haven't purchased it yet, just wait until they release their performance patches. But it's a very good game. Konami, I think they did a great job. And again, it's just so awesome to be playing Metal Gear again and seeing it in this fidelity. And I can't wait to see what they do next, man. I assume that the next thing Konami does is the Metal Gear Solid Volume 2 collection. And then maybe later down the line, we'll find out which game they're remaking next. But yeah, good stuff. So I'm definitely proud of that platinum. And yeah, we'll see what they do next. Oh, and I am curious to see if they're going to add trophies. This will be really interesting. When they do bring the Fox Hunt multiplayer mode, I wonder if they're going to add trophies for that. I think I would be okay with that, actually, if they did that. Because I'm going to play either way. But if they give me a couple more trophies to hunt for, I'll do that. Last time I bought a guidebook was when Kingdom Hearts came out for PS2. Yeah, I feel like strategy guides were really popular during the PS2 era. That's when I had them. Although I never actually really used them. For some reason, I always bought like strategy guides to kind of collect them, but then I would just like not use them for whatever reason. My favorite strategy guide, I think I still own it. Might be somewhere in my basement. I think I don't know if it's like worth money or not these days, but my favorite strategy guide that I ever owned was the original Dark Souls strategy guide. It was like hardcover. So awesome. That one I actually think I did use. I needed to use that one because I kept getting lost when I played that game the first time. You did RE1 in under 3 hours in the PS1 days for the rocket launcher. I have to admit, one of the things that stressed me out the most about trying to get the Foxhound rank in Metal Gear Solid Delta was knowing I had to beat it in under 5 hours. I didn't realize how easy it is to do that. I thought it was going to be like cutting it close. It wasn't though. I think I did it in like 3.5 hours. So I had like an hour and a half to spare. But yeah, I always hate trophies or if you're just trying to unlock something in game where you have to beat the game in a certain, in a certain time frame, like certain amount of hours, always stresses me out because I just can't really enjoy it that way. Trying not to get, trying not to be stabbed, and oh, there's a trophy in Mafia for not getting stabbed. It's, yeah, I guess that is a difficult one to unlock. Tarzan World was so difficult for me as a kid that I needed the book. Hold on one sec, guys. Let me, I gotta let Luna in. She wants some treats too. All right, come on, Luna. Boss, get out. You already had some. You had enough. You're gonna get sick. You had way too much. I'm telling you, man. Boss will just eat all of them. All right. I'm just trying to pet you, Luna. She doesn't like being pet when she's eating. All right, let's see where I'm at here. Yeah, guys, make sure you're hitting that like button, by the way. We're sitting at 93 likes. We could easily get that up to 100. We got to do it for Michael. He did a good faith contribution. So let's see if we can get to that 100 mark. Let's move on and talk about the second topic, though, which is about the Xbox price increases. I mean, what the hell is going on, man? There's kind of a, so let me just give you the information first and foremost. Hold on, I have to close some of these tabs. One moment. All right, so we know that recently the PS5 got a price increase in the US of $50. So if you want a disk drive model PS5, it costs $550. If you want the digital PS5, which arguably a lot of people probably would go for the digital model at this point, it's $500. So it used to be cheaper, but that came after Microsoft announced price increases for the Xbox consoles. But now Microsoft is announcing a second increase. And this is what it's looking like, guys. So for the Xbox Series S 512 gigabyte model, right now it's $380. Again, that's after the original price increase. It's $380. Now it's going up to $400. That's crazy. I don't know why anybody would buy that. Mainly because it's only 512 gigabytes. So the 1 terabyte Xbox Series S model currently is being sold for $430. It's going up to $450. For the Xbox Series X Digital Edition, it's being sold right now for $550 and it's going up to $600. Okay. The Xbox Series X disk drive model is currently being sold for $600. It's going up to $650, man. And then finally, and this is the one that I think Microsoft is out of their minds, bro. Xbox Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Edition currently being sold for $730, now $800. Like, what? So, yeah, man. apparently Microsoft told Windows Central, quote, when they were asked about this, quote, "We are navigating an incredibly dynamic environment right now. We've assessed the changing macroeconomic environment, excuse me, and addressed the applicable impacts." So, I mean, pretty much a non-answer. So, let's talk about this for a little bit. Garrett, what's going on, man? Mario, you're saying I feel like Microsoft lost all common sense at this point. I think I personally think it's obvious why Microsoft is doing this. Um, I do think the tariffs do have something to do with it, but by this point, I think it's obvious that what Microsoft is signaling is that they really, truly do not care.
Go of the actor, you fish-smelling disgusting
hold on.
human. You 40-year-old virgin. I hope you never get hired by anyone ever again and you become homeless. B. Scott.
Hold on. What? Oh, that's Rich Rod. Bro, no. No. Rich. No, man. Calm down. Calm down right now. Rich, why? Dude, we're talking. Rich, listen to me and listen to me closely. I'm not playing that again. Rich Rod tax in full effect. 5 more memberships. Listen, Rich, we're literally sitting here talking about Microsoft increasing prices for the Xbox console. They're selling an Xbox Series X for $800, and this is how you use your chat? Rich, I'm giving you another opportunity, bro. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Unbelievable. This guy, man. But what I was going to say, hold on. You know what? I'll give Rich an opportunity. Let me let Luna out. What I was going to say is I think it's obvious what Microsoft's doing. They're sending a very clear signal that they really do not care if you buy their hardware. However, if you do choose to buy their hardware, they're going to make sure that they make money off of you, which isn't a problem. It's just, yeah, we're at a point where in order for them to make a profit, they need to bump the prices up to realistically, like a nonsensical price point here for some of these things. Daniel Ahmad says this is directly affected by the tariffs. Well, I mean, yeah, but at some point we have to ask ourselves, like, what is Microsoft hoping to achieve by selling, just a regular Xbox Series X for how much now? $650?
OMS talk okay. Hey Colt, defend MS now, you ugly punchable face short bus shill. I hope you never play an actual console ever again. Gaming community hate you.
Rich, you were on that one fast, bro. You were on that one a little too fast. Holy shit. I hope you never play an actual console ever again. Well, luckily, we got PCs coming up. So, Rich, don't worry about it, bro. Don't worry about it. No worries. Tariffs, they both cost more in Europe. MBG, you're just afraid to see Sony increase by $50 in. I am. Well, I'm not like afraid, but like it's just, dude, if Sony comes out and announces a price increase for the PS5 again, like look, we can safely look at these price increases for the Xbox consoles and we can say they are cooked. Like they're done. Nobody is buying Xbox consoles as is. After seeing these prices, it's just going to make sure nobody anybody who was even considering buying an Xbox console probably isn't going to. Because at this point, I mean, especially when you can access Game Pass on other devices, uh, I mean, maybe like the 1 terabyte Series S, maybe that looks desirable for some people, depending on their circumstances. But, you know, that is now $450. So I just think, but MBG, a bunch of people on the internet told me Xbox is pro-consumer. The Xbox is not pro-consumer. They're pro-profit, just like every other corporation. Just because they are willing to make temporary adjustments to be perceived as pro-consumer, they'll do that if they're playing the long game. But that's what's interesting about this, is Microsoft is making it clear that they're no longer playing the long game with the consoles. They haven't been for a while. Microsoft's making it abundantly clear that we want to make money on every piece of hardware we sell. Well, what if that means you're going to sell almost no hardware because it's too expensive? Guess what? We were already selling almost no hardware. So to me, this is just, it's a signal. Like, I'm not saying the tariffs don't have anything to do with it, but it's a signal that Microsoft wants to make money on every Series console, Series S and X console sold. Like, here's the best example I could give you. If you look at this list of increased prices, hold
XP
on.
gamers like Colt, go cry in our corner, we don't care. We will laugh at you and our misery. You deserve misery for all eternity. Ugly, disgusting beings. Cry.
Bro said eternity. Rich, it's a bit much. Eternity? Eternity. Rich is coming in violent today. He chose violence. Wait, when doesn't Rich choose violence? Guys, the Rich Rod tax is in full effect. He dropped 3 donations. We're going to need 15 memberships. Rich, you're in the hole. 15 memberships, bro. But thank you. I do appreciate the direct donations. The example I wanted to give you here is, look at the Xbox Series X 2 terabyte edition. Okay. The most expensive version outside of this one is the regular disc model Series X. They're selling it for $650. $650 for a disc model Series X. Now, I want to ask you, what is the difference between that model and the 2 terabyte Galaxy Black? It has an extra terabyte of storage. Yet they're charging $150 more for that version. $150 more, dude. It's $800. That tells you all you need to know. This is about more so profit margins and making sure that if we only sell 100 consoles, we're making good money on every console sold. That's what this is about. And anybody who can't see that, I fear may be in some kind of weird denial where it's like, yes, the first round of price increases, you could say that was due to the tariffs. The second round, where Microsoft is selling you an Xbox Series console, a Series X, for $800 and justifying it by saying it has an extra terabyte of storage, you are out of your mind. If you are sitting here convincing yourself it's purely just tariffs, like, it's not. It's very obviously not. So, you know, it's funny because I posted this on Twitter, just simply putting the new prices out there, and I immediately see people say, well, Sony's going to do this too, you know. It's not just Microsoft. And it's like, bro, save it. Like, what is up with these people, man? Like, who gives a shit? Right now, Microsoft is doing it, just like they were the first time. I sure as shit hope Sony doesn't increase their prices again. That would suck. If Sony, listen, man, if Sony increases the price of the PS5 again, that means they're going to be selling a disk drive PS5 model for $600. Good luck. Microsoft just did their they just did, or Sony, I should say, Sony just did their 2025 corporate report. And the first thing they tell investors, the first thing on that corporate report is our priority, PS5 console sales. So if you increase the price again by $50 and bump the disc drive model up to 600 and the digital model up to 550, I don't see how that's prioritizing sales. That seems like the opposite. Sony needs to try to hang on, man. They need to try to hang on, because if they don't, sure, I mean, maybe they'll be forced to, but if they don't stick to the prices that they have now, I think they're really going to hurt. They're going to hurt their console sales. And maybe by this point, it doesn't matter because they already sold over 80 million. So it's like, whatever, we already succeeded this generation, but it's going to spook people for the next generation. People are already spooked about the next gen. So I don't know, man. But yeah, that's always what it is, Mr. B. It's always the whataboutism. And if there's one thing I'm completely tired of, is the constant whataboutisms. Like, well, I know you're talking to me about Microsoft just increasing their prices, but what about Sony? It's like, what about Sony, dude? Like, yeah, they just increased, they did their first console price increase in the US a couple months ago. I don't know exactly when it was. It was like a month ago at this point. So it's like, what about it? Here's Microsoft doing it again. If people want to ask what about, they should ask, what about that $800 Series X? That's what they should be asking. What about that $800 Series X? Yeah, what about that? What's going on there? What's going on there? So, I'm not saying, to be honest, I think most people are just indifferent. And you know why they're indifferent? Because they weren't going to be buying Xboxes anyway. So I don't think this is as big of a deal as some people are making it out to be. Xbox increasing the prices again sucks. However, people were already not buying Xboxes. So anybody who was going to is just going to pay an extra premium now, seemingly, for some of these devices. And I mean, if you see what people are talking about when it comes to the Xbox ROG handheld, you can clearly see that the niche group of Xbox players that still exists, some of them are very much okay, like paying these very high prices for some of these devices. And that's fine. That's what Microsoft's probably hoping for. They know that they still have people that are like a large enough group of fans that are going to support this stuff. So I'm glazing PlayStation out, bro. Dude, I swear, some people just don't really what? This is basically free marketing. I don't know, man. I wouldn't. To me, it's just going to turn people off from even buying a console. It's just going to turn people off from considering an Xbox at this point, if they weren't already turned off to it. Hold on, I'm seeing like different things in the chat right now. $600 PS5, $650 Series X, $500 Switch 2 incoming. Rich, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know. I think we're going to chill out on that. PS5 price hike at the State of Play. Could you imagine? Could you just, I could actually. And Chaos Theory, I'm sorry, buddy. Chaos Theory 93, I'm super late to your milestone chat. I apologize. I didn't read it already. You're saying, yo, chat, ain't nobody buying an Xbox at $800. MBG, how powerful do we expect the PlayStation handheld to be? Do you think it will have Switch-style cartridges? No, it will not have Switch-style cartridges. I think the handheld's going to be all digital. I don't think it's going to have any physical capability. At most, if you can dock it, maybe somehow you can hook up a disk drive to it. Unlikely, though. Unlikely. Yeah, chaos theory, you get it, bro. Apparently on paper, the way this is working out so far, on paper, the PlayStation handheld is going to be about 75% of a PS5. However, because of some of the technology that will be in it, the results should end up, what you see in your games should end up looking and running either very similar, like exactly what you see on the base PS5 now, or in some cases better. So I would say expect about PS5 level performance, maybe a little bit better in some cases. That sounds to be where you know, where it's landing. You just pre-ordered Silent Hill physical. Nice, dude. RDNA 5 is about 60% more powerful than RDNA 2. We'll get there, Lee. We'll get there. We do have a Ghost of Yotei topic, yeah. Irfan, you just pre-ordered Yote? Well, you know, talking about these price increases, should we anticipate that Sony's going to increase the price again of the PS5? Maybe. I would say don't bank on them not doing it. We don't know. We don't know. All I can say is that if Sony's main priority, like they just told their investors, if Sony's main priority is we want to sell as many consoles as possible, increasing the price a second time is going to do the opposite of that. It's going to make you lose sales. So, I think Sony has a certain threshold of what cost they're willing to eat on their hardware. And I think if that threshold gets crossed, maybe they will increase it again. I hope they don't though, because it's not gonna bode well for. It's just not good. I feel like we don't want to see consoles scare people off because people are getting. I mean, it's one thing if you're priced out of something like the PS5 Pro, a premium device that's optional. That's one thing. It's another thing when you're just simply priced out because you don't actually. Just like all of this is too expensive now. That's not supposed to be what console gaming is about. Console gaming is supposed to be a somewhat more affordable alternative to, PC, or at least mid to high end PC gaming. And we have Jerry Gamer, a member for 16 months. He says, "Big week coming in hot. Silent Hill, Ghost of Yote reviews, TGS, State of Plague. Oh, Kojima's 10 years. Yeah, I forgot about that. Beyond the Strand. Oh shit, I forgot about that completely. Will Sony announce the State of Play on Monday? By the way, did you see the Horizon on Xbox? Yeah, we covered that, Jerry Gamer. That's false. I would recommend checking out the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit. It's labeled on their false, and everybody in there will tell you why. So yeah, that's not. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying that's not an indicator that it is. You got stuck at the B guy on Metal Gear Solid and never went back to it. Pissed me off. I tried everything to beat him. Can't do it because of some dumb reason. Are you playing it on? What difficulty are you playing it on? Because I was just talking about that a little bit earlier. The pain. Venino, a member for 11 months, says, MBG, did you see people are modding FSR4 to RDNA 2 and Steam Deck? No, I did not see that. You think the Xbox Series X and S and PS5 will get the update as well? The mod works very well. It's possible it could get it. I could see Microsoft allowing that. Sony, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man. I don't know what would need to be done to get that working on these current consoles. I haven't seen it though. That's super interesting. I didn't even know you could do that. Yeah, that would be something that they would have to do officially with AMD. And if it's not official right now, if it's basically just like purely in modder territory, I'm going to say you probably won't see that. But Venino, thank you for the milestone chat, man. Thank you for being a member. You think FSR4 is being done on shader processing units?
While Konami remaking Metal Gear 1 and 2 later would be cool, I'd love for them to remake Portable Ops next, since it's chronologically the next one.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to consider Portable Ops. Time tells no lies. I don't think they're going to consider that because if I recall correctly, Kojima made it clear that Portable Ops is not canon. So the next one in line, canonically speaking, timeline wise, would be Peace Walker. But I agree, man. I would love to one day. I think it's many, 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 many years from now. I think it's a long time from now. Maybe like the PlayStation 7 generation. But I would one day love to see Konami reimagine the original Metal Gear games. I don't know, man. I have this kind of like dream that I know will never come true, but I have this dream that Kojima could somehow gain access to the Metal Gear IP and he will do it. He'll make one game, it's a massive game, and it's a complete reimagining. It's a combination of the original Metal Gear 1 and 2 made by Kojima and his team. I mean, that's the dream because that's Metal Gear, dude. Like that's where Metal Gear began. And hardly anybody knows about it. They're totally overlooked. But some of the most important lore that sets up all these games we played occurs in these games. So they should get a proper remake or reimagining, but I don't know. You know, could Konami do it on their own without Kojima? Possibly. But I would not be nearly as confident. Truth be told, I would not be nearly as confident. But it would be cool to see it, nonetheless. But Tarnish, you were saying you think FSR4 is being done on shader processing unit software mode, so it's not using AI CNNs or convolutional neural network. Won't get anywhere near the same quality. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I don't know too much about the technical side of FSR4. I just know that it produces very good results. Hopefully it can do the same for PlayStation. It's doing really good things on PC, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, man, more price increases. EBG, a bunch of info about the canceled Perfect Dark game leaked. Really? Did that I'm assuming that just happened. Well, I just went on the gaming lease from her subreddit. It says, according to Gamatsu, an unknown Xbox game will be shown for an hour at Tokyo Game Show. That has to be Forza Horizon 6, right? What other game would they show for an hour at TGS? It's got to be an Xbox game. It's got to be Forza Horizon 6. Concept art of the canceled Perfect Dark reboot. Let's see. MP first. An adrenaline system. Wait, what? Huh. Yeah, MP first did a whole write up here with information about this Perfect Dark reboot. Yeah, a lot of people were really disappointed to see that got canceled. Came in late. Which MGS are they planning to remake? They're asking us. Sean, Konami's going to be putting out a poll or a questionnaire where they're asking fans which ones they want to see remade next. So they have Konami has a presentation coming this week.
Hey Gangster cool dude stay positive. Sucker Punch made a statement was fair. Coming from DA Hood W / a single mom not breaking, bank emoji, she got N64 Xbox, up emoji, $sign emoji, sad face emoji.
I love how it just reads the emojis. Thank you for that perfect image. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. We do have some Ghost of Yote talk coming up. But I will warn everybody that, you know, I don't want to. I want the chat to be chill, and I want the conversation to be civil, because we do have to acknowledge that they you know, the head of Sucker Punch made some statement on the situation. But yeah, I just want people to, you know, be cool about it, be respectful to one another. You think they need to remake MGS 1 before they mess around and go out of business? I don't think Perfect Dark is ever coming back. I think it's over. I've not played Dying Light the Beast yet, no. Emoji. So yeah, that's pretty much, I mean, what else is left to be said about the Xbox price increases, man? What else is left to be said? I think Microsoft clearly doesn't give a shit about selling consoles anymore. They haven't for a long time. They haven't been selling consoles for a long time. They're a publisher more than a, you know, console manufacturer, and even more than a platform holder. They're like a publisher first and foremost. Game Pass is obviously still somewhat of a priority for them. And I think console's just pretty much done for Xbox. I think, you know, they'll have hardware. Like, we already know that. They'll have hardware for people who are still left on Xbox, or playing Xbox consoles and want to move over to something else. But that number is going to be very small. And also, I just want to put this out here. Before we move on. Final thing I'll say about the Xbox price increase. For those who may have been doubting just how expensive the next gen Xbox is going to be, every leaker and insider who is privy to the APU that Microsoft is using, the Xbox Magnus APU, they've all said the same thing. It's going to be very, very expensive. And I think multiple insiders have stated that it's probably going to be more than $1,000. The fact that Microsoft is willing to sell an Xbox Series X for $800 should tell you everything you need to know about the pricing of the next gen box. So when I stated that I think the next gen Xbox is going to sell less than 10 million, like 10 million at the high end, but probably less than 10 million, I think I'm going to be proven correct on that. Where yes, it will be more capable than the PlayStation 6. It will produce better results than the PlayStation 6 in some games, or maybe most games. It'll be more powerful, but the pricing, I think, is just going to be something that basically stops it from being taken seriously in the conversation. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be like 11 or $1,200 or something like that. If it's over 1,000, yeah, I mean, dude, like, it's for a very small group of people. They don't expect. Well, that's the thing. They do not expect it to sell. The idea is, if they only sell 3 million or 4 million Xbox Magnus consoles, they just want to make good money. They want that 3 to 4 million sales to produce a really good profit. That's more important to Microsoft than selling volume. They're not creating a mass market device. In other words, simply put, PlayStation is positioning the PlayStation 6 to be a mass market device. Microsoft is positioning the Xbox Magnus to be a niche consumer device, a very much an enthusiast device, it seems. However, The wild card here is that a partner of Microsoft is probably going to produce a $700 Xbox. Could be Asus, could be another brand, an OEM. Microsoft is going to allow OEMs to make these boxes and put whatever they want in them and charge however much they want or however little they want. So while I don't think we'll be able to compare the PlayStation 6 directly to the Xbox Magnus, I don't think we're going to be able to do that because they're just going to be too far apart. I think there is going to be another device there that it's like we're going to compare the Asus Xbox console because that's more comparable to the PS6. And that's going to be really weird. Those leaked PS6 specs are very price conscious. Well, I think it's smart ultimately of Sony to keep pricing in mind because the last thing I think I want to see, I know people are worried about like a next gen leap, but it's like, I don't know, man. The wall has clearly been hit for now anyway. I'm not saying we're going to stay here permanently, but the wall for now has been hit. I'd rather see Sony have a good chance of selling more consoles just for the health of the console market at this point than anything than them be like, here's $1,000 PlayStation. And that's the only one we're offering. You know, I wouldn't, I'd be very concerned about that. Like, that who's this going to sell? Is this going to get supported properly? You know, like I'd be worried about the console market at that point. Like what's going on? MBG, if the price hike is because they just wanted to make more money, then they would have done it worldwide. It's only in the US, which means that the tariffs is the main reason. Yeah, perhaps, Irfan. I get where you're coming from, but the only thing to me that kind of maybe misconstrues that a little bit, or not misconstrues it, maybe it's not as simple as it seems. Like it's not just because of the tariffs, is because Microsoft's main market for Xbox by far and away, like it's not even close, is the US. Like this is their market. And my whole thing, Irfan, is like if they're already selling like no consoles, then the last place they're probably selling consoles is the US. And so, if anything, you would think it would be reversed, where they would be more willing to increase the hell out of the prices outside of the US so that way they could maybe whatever sales they get outside of the US at a premium price point can offset them maintaining the price points that they have in the US. I could be completely wrong, but I'm just saying, dude, like there's no reason for a Series X to be $800. There's just no reason. Except Microsoft wants to make a good fucking chunk of change off of that console selling. Because you have to ask yourself, like, who would buy that? You have to be a truly diehard console player, enthusiast, Xbox enthusiast to buy that console at this point. And I think Microsoft's just basically saying, like, yeah, we want to make sure that for that person, we want to make some money off them. And I think it's kind of a mutual understanding thing where it's like, wait, you're actually going to buy this for 800? It's like, yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Great. Sure. We'll take that money. I don't know, man. I'm not saying the tariffs have nothing to do with it. Like I said previously, I just think that I would just need somebody to explain to me how the tariffs bring a Series X console with a 2 terabyte hard drive or a SSD to $800. If somebody can explain that, like if somebody could break that down for me and show me like here's how it comes out to $800, okay, then I guess it would make sense. But I'm just like I think the tariffs are applicable. Truthfully, if we were to look at the tariff situation and the fact this was just in the US, I think it's maybe more applicable to the Series S because the Series S only saw a price increase of $20 for each Series S model. And I think that, like, if you told me that's because of the tariffs, I would believe you because that's not that's like an inconsequential increase, where it's like for the consumer, I don't think $20 is make or break on whether you want to buy a console or not. But for Microsoft, considering they're dealing in like, razor thin margins with the Series S, that does make more sense. So I think, I think with the Series S $20 price increase for each model, that probably is for tariffs. But I don't know. I start to question that when I look at, um, like this the Series X disk drive going up another $50. Like, Jesus, dude. Um, like 600 was already too much for a Series X. Now it's 650. We'll see. We'll see, man. I don't know. Maybe Sony is going to come out next week and be like, yeah, we're increasing it again too. Which, at that point, it's like, yeah, we got to be pretty worried about the health of the console market. I would be pretty worried where it's like, this is getting spooky out here, man. What is going on? When these consoles are imported into a country with tariffs, the government requires the employer, often the retailer or distributor, to pay an extra percentage of those consoles' prices. Well, don't get me wrong. It's clear that the tariffs are having an impact on everything. It's not just consoles, of course. The tariffs are real, and they are having a real, tangible impact on pricing, and prices are going up. I guess the reason why I am fascinated to see what happens next here is because I've been following Microsoft for a while, as you guys know, and I've been saying well before these tariffs became a thing that it just seems to me that like Microsoft kind of doesn't give a shit about selling consoles, man. Like it's felt like that for like multiple years at this point. And now I just feel like they have the biggest, not excuse, but like if there was any chance that they were going to come back and be like, we do care about selling consoles, it's like this is the final nail in that coffin of like, oh, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Like this shit ain't, who even cares? It's not even worth it at this point. And I guess, I don't know. This is why I think you're going to see Microsoft drop a $1,000 plus Xbox, because I just think that they don't fucking care. Like they're just like, listen, man, we know we have at this point probably between 15 and 20 million people tops. That's tops, dude. That's probably way more than what's actually, if we're talking about active console players, 15, 20 million. I feel like it's like, yeah, we're okay if you go somewhere else. Like Microsoft is okay with you saying, I'm going to go buy a PlayStation and buy Forza Horizon 6 on that PlayStation. They are actually completely okay with that. You know how I know? Because they're going to be okay with you. They're going to be okay with the idea of you buying a piece of hardware they make to then just buy your games on Steam. And then they make no money. Assuming that you're not buying a Microsoft game. They're okay with that. Just like they are for Windows. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I think Microsoft is going to leave the more affordable devices to be made by, like I said, OEM partners, where they're just like, we're going to give you like the gold standard, I guess you could say, or like the not gold, the flagship. We're going to give you the flagship console that you can kind of base what you want to do around it. Oh wow, hold on. Okay, that was weird. They don't get the full money over there. Sony gets a percentage. They don't have a choice, bro. They aren't going to eat the tariff and sell consoles at a loss. No, they're not. They're not. I'm pretty sure here's what I think. This is the point that I'm trying to get across. And maybe this will be a better way to explain it. I think Microsoft decided multiple years ago that they're not going to eat the cost anymore. I don't think it's just because I think the tariffs just made it so like, oh yeah, we're making the right choice. But I'm just trying to explain to people that this Xbox Magnus console was happening either way. You know? It was happening like whether or not there were tariffs, this Magnus really premium Xbox, and I've speculated many times before that the reason for that is because this is Microsoft signaling that they're not doing the traditional console approach. They're not approaching the console market the same way. They're not taking the traditional route. They're taking the more premium niche. Every console that's sold, it's going to be a monster of a console, but that's going to have a price point to reflect that. I do think that the tariffs just made sure that maybe a couple years ago, this Xbox Magnus console could have been priced at $800 or $900. Now I think the tariffs are what's going to make sure that it's going to be over $1,000 now. Potentially, depending on what goes into it exactly, or how it's going to be manufactured. But I'm just trying to highlight that tariffs or not, price increase or not, Microsoft has pretty much been kind of out of the race for a little while now. And I think this is ultimately why I was just saying that, like,
is silly, maybe like 25% of the reason max. Tariffs are doing more to even the playing ground. Livelihood doesn't depend on consoles.
Interesting. Rich Rod. Whoa. That's Rich Rod that just said that? Hold on now. Was not expecting that, bro. I had to read your name 3 times to make sure. Wait, is that Rich Rod? You're saying to blame the tariffs would be silly? Maybe like 25% of the reason max. Tariffs are doing more to even the playing ground. The tariff situation is a messy one. I don't like to talk about it because it does become too political, but my view on it from a high level, Rich, is I think you're talking about decades worth of damage being done. And I think the abrupt realization by a lot of people that you can start to undo that. For example, the idea of leveling the playing field, that's a notion that I think everybody can get behind. Generally speaking, we want to level the playing field. This is, we want to even things out. When people realize just what that's going to take, where it's like, wait, so how long is it going to take to do that? It's like, dude, decades. You're talking about undoing decades worth of damage. Because everybody just wants to keep passing the buck and passing the buck and passing the buck. And because the hole gets dug deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's like, eventually, when somebody says, maybe we should try to get out of this hole, and you can't even see the light shining through anymore. It's like, good fucking luck. So it kind of becomes a situation where it's like, well, maybe it's better to just sit here and wait for the next group of people to deal with it. As long as we can dig our hole comfortably. Who cares? We'll let them worry about it. And we're seeing an approach from a government, at this point in time that is trying to undo the damage. And do not consume. I mean, that's going to be the solution, whether people like it or not, eventually, if this is how things keep going. But yeah, it's just like, people are beginning to realize that it gets really messy, because it's like, oh, well, I guess we have to learn to live without our everyday comforts, we have to learn to be less comfortable. We've gotten too comfortable. Maybe there's an argument that, generally speaking, too much decadence, right? And it's like, well, but what about all the super rich people? So what about, and then the question of socialism comes in, capitalism, and it becomes, it's a fucking shit show. That's all you need I don't think you need to look very far to realize it's a complete shit show, and there is no clear-cut answer. There's belief, there's faith. People have faith that if we do this, this is what the result will be. That this will work. That this can work. But the reality is, if you look at the bigger picture, it's an absolute clusterfuck. It's been nodded to oblivion, and it's like, I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I guess at some point you just kind of need some level of blind faith to be like, this has got to be it, because if this ain't it, I don't know what the fuck is. It's a complicated, messy situation, and it's one that I think people want a solution to that's not going to negatively impact them. I think that is basically what it boils down to. Is I'm an American, I live in America, and I can tell you that people
When we have been
want
tariffed at
solutions that
50%
are
while
not going
only
to,
hitting them with 5% is nonsense. We have to start somewhere. Don't blame the current admin for doing right.
when we've been tired for the, well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing, Rich, is like, the argument that I think is being made by a lot of people, or that can be made, is that that's true, right? Like, that's true. Where it's like, it seems like things have been kind of unfair for a long time. Would it be so bad if America decided we want to, like, we want things to be a little bit more even? It's like, doing it, like, making that decision now, though, like this, again, we're this deep into the hole. These are decisions that maybe should have come 20, 30 years ago, maybe even earlier than that, to prevent this situation. And I know that's the thing. Who cares? Because it's like, it's water under the bridge. What's done is done. But it's just, when we're considering how we actually get out of it, how do we get out of it? When Trump says, like, oh, there's going to be a little bit of pain. He's putting it lightly. And I think everybody knows that. Like, it's not going to be a little bit of pain. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. It's going to be people eventually realizing that if it keeps going this way, eventually realizing that, yeah, dude, that thing that you got used to paying, I don't know, like $10 for, there's a good chance that shit's going to go up to 15, maybe even 20. And then you apply that to, like, almost not everything, but so many things across the board. And then it's like, well, just buy America and, that'll do it. But it's like, well, it's not going to be any cheaper if it's made in America. It's a clusterfuck, dude. And I don't feel like I'm not, and by the way, Rich, I'm not trying to argue against you or anything. I'm not here to argue against anybody. I'm just saying that the solution is not simple. It is painful. No matter what you choose, whether you say we do the tariffs or we don't, like, there's fucking major problems that we've inherited, that many people who are now in charge inherited from the previous admins, from the previous leaders, that were, again, where it's just like, mistakes were made, then they were passed on, and then they were passed on again, and eventually it's going to catch up. Eventually you're going to hit the wall. And, Trump, Biden, like, I don't think it's going to take a single person or a single administration to fix this. I think it's going to take a very, very long time of just consistent, this is the direction we're going in, and we are not deviating from this direction. And when you consider the fact that right now, people are just eager for Trump to get out of office, and then, well, if a Republican president wins again, then it's like, well, that Republican president's probably just going to keep doing the same thing or doing something very similar, not deviating very much. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. It's very complex, and it's just like most other things in life, where it's like, the answer is not as clear cut as we would want it to be, unfortunately. And anybody who tries to present it that way, I think, is leaving out certain factors, for specific reasons. But We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, no, I'm not. I know. I'm not trying to have that much political talk. It's just when we talk about why Microsoft is suddenly raising the prices of the Xbox consoles again, they're literally saying it's the tariffs, and people are now arguing whether or not it is the tariffs or it isn't. And I'm just like, dude, there's one thing that people bring up, and this is the most cynical of all, but I think it's the most true. And it's like, bro, it doesn't actually matter if these corporations have an excuse to jack up the prices and then never bring them back down and just make those higher prices the new norm, they'll do it. And that to me is the more concerning, fucked up part where it's like,
At
oh,
same
absolutely.
time passes the biggest transfer of wealth in the history of the country has ever seen.
In the history of the country's ever seen. Yeah, I don't know, man. I only pay attention to so much. I don't really go too deep into it because it becomes it's like I just look at it and I'm like, okay, like I don't fucking know. Like what am I gonna do? You know what I mean? This is Dark Horse. This is why I'm like, at the end of the day, I think I just want to focus on trying to enjoy video games because like at this point it's literally the only escape I have. Reasonable escape, I should say, anyway. And I think more people are just kind of getting to that point where it's like, bro, what the hell is going on? But I don't know, man. Hopefully things get better. That's all you can do is hope, right? Whatever the price is in the US, it's even more in Europe and the rest of the world. People will struggle to buy next gen consoles. These kind of prices. Yeah. Well, this is why I'm saying, Irfan, this is why I'm saying if we had any question as to why Sony's going to do a cheaper handheld, cheaper, I don't know how much it'll actually be, but something that, $4 trillion Nvidia is seeking to get to 8 trillion is the problem. Capitalism, bro. It's flawless. What could go wrong? Anyway, let's move on to another juicy topic that I'm sure everybody's going to be excited to talk about. The rich getting exponentially richer, the poor getting much poorer. It's crazy out there. Yeah. Well, what is the solution to that, right? Somebody might say socialism. Socialism's a solution. But I think what's become clear is that there is no perfect solution. Doesn't matter because the same fundamental theory, it's not even a theory, it's just a reality. The same reality, it's applicable all around, where it's like, dude, no system is going to be perfect because nothing can be perfect. There is no perfect answer. Even if you have the perfect system, it will be tainted, it will be ruined, it will be corrupted. That is a guarantee. And there's nothing that we can do about that except just continue to go through the cycles. We have to understand the pendulum swings, man. It's always swinging. It's always swinging one way or the other. And this notion that you can stop it from swinging, that you can get it to just stay still right in the middle, you can't. And that's because you don't control the pendulum, nor do I. Talking about Metal Gear Solid 3, that's like one of the first things that Kojima hits you with at the beginning of the game when Snake is talking to the boss and like how do I think like a soldier? How do I be a soldier? And she's explaining that, everything just changes with the times, man. Like, today's enemy is tomorrow's ally. Tomorrow's ally is, whatever. It's just it's just basically pointing out that you just can't control it. It just goes as it's gonna go. I don't know. Some would say it's a bit of a nihilistic or defeatist mentality, but I think it's just more of trying to understand. It's trying to separate what you can control from what you can't. And I think in some instances it is like, yeah, there are clearly things at a high level, at least in the United States of America, that need to be recalibrated, readjusted, and maybe completely overhauled. And you can advocate for what you think is best. You can vote for what you think is best. But at the end of the day, you don't actually get to make the decision. And so maybe, like what we're seeing right now, kind of to what Tarnish was saying, like maybe, yeah, maybe it is some of the things that you would have purchased or that you were comfortable purchasing previously, maybe pass on it. Maybe, make some short term sacrifices for your own well being. Because if you can't control everything that's going on out there, you got to at least be able to try to control what you can, right? And so, I don't know. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is just focus on what you can change and what you can influence and do your best. That's all we really can do. That's all anybody can do. Yeah, I know. Just stop feeding the machine, bro. It's hard. It's hard though. I think a lot of people understand. And it's not just pure it's not just pure greed, or I would say you could say it's lack of discipline, but it's the simple notion that make somebody comfortable, get them nice and comfortable, and get them accustomed to that comfort. What happens when suddenly that is threatened to be taken away or completely overhauled? And that's where being adaptable, being disciplined, these are qualities that, man, they will save your ass. They'll save your ass out there. They'll save your ass in here. They'll save your. They're universal qualities that you know can only benefit you and only help you, but they're not easy qualities to obtain. All right, CPR rate is getting higher, so no problems there. Or CPI rate. All right. Why? Well, this is why I always try to thank you guys so much for the support that you do show the channel. Because I see what's going on out there, man, and there are some people who are very blessed, of course, and they're willing to share and they're willing to support and willing to help. And I know that there are people here who watch my content and watch my channel, and they tell me all the time that they would like to if they were able to. And I always just tell them, I appreciate you watching, I appreciate you being here. But especially for those who are donating and supporting in that way, at a time like this, to see people still doing that to make it so I can continue to do this, it's very nice, it's very humbling. So, that's one really big positive I would say, is that people continue to show me that there's still I think there is still some glimmer of hope potentially. Irvin says, hit the like button, guys. Laws, that's pretty intense, bro. Yeah, it's pretty bad. You're gonna relocate to the next planet eventually. Well, apparently they found life on Mars, and then I just saw something the other day that claims, I think a Chinese Mars rover or something may have found evidence of ancient oceans on Mars, and I'm like, interesting. So I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I don't know. With that being said, though, speaking of money, we have a write-up here from Push Square. It says, in an era where blockbuster open-world games cost unfathomable sums of money to make, Ghost of Yote looks like it'll be a profitable endeavor for developer Sucker Punch. Speaking in an interview with GameFile, boss Brian Fleming explained that the sequel had a similar development budget to its predecessor. We know Ghost of Tsushima cost around $60 million to make, so it's fair to assume its follow-up is in the same ballpark. While that's still a lot of money, it means Sucker Punch should have no problem making its investment back. We know that as of September 2024, Ghost of Tsushima sold around 13 million units, and if the budget that we heard about, which was $60 million, is correct, which it was because it was leaked in a document, I believe, that means Sony made about $400 million in revenue off of Ghost of Tsushima. And so I wanted to talk about this because we have talked many times about the budget of PlayStation Studios titles. We've talked many times about the inflating budgets of AAA games. And, the game that I always think of, well, now there are two games I think of. The first game from Sony is Spider Man 2, and knowing that that cost over $300 million to make. Um, but at the same time, it's like you look at it, it's like it's not foundationally or fundamentally a very different game. So you have to question like where did that 300 million go? But another game I think of now is Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, because Neil Druckmann just went on record saying it's going to end up being their most expensive game they ever made. But then you have a game like Ghost of Tsushima, which, you know, they did what they did with that game on a budget of 60 million, which is crazy low for a AAA game. In you know, in I mean, maybe you could say, well, like back then when it was greenlit in like 2015, 16, maybe it makes more sense. But the fact that they're doing it again with the same budget, it does explain a lot. It does explain why the game looks very similar. It does explain why, um, people are like, oh, I expected a bigger leap or whatever. But that's what's so funny, isn't it? What's so funny is that people said the same thing about something like Spider Man 2, but Spider Man 2 was like double the budget or more. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with some of these studios and where some of this money's going, but it does seem like regardless of what's going on with Ghost of Yote, they're one of the safer studios where they're not going over budget. They're like Sony's probably like, you guys sure you don't want more money? Like, and they're like, yeah, we're good. We can make this work. And no, Sucker Punch is not that small. I think they're like 240 devs. They're quite big. So um I don't know. I don't know. They're doing something right in that regard. Um maybe it maybe their next game will be more expensive. Maybe they're going to do an engine overhaul. Maybe they want to change something with I mean it seems like maybe wanting to go for more photorealism or even better, more cutting edge graphics. That could maybe make it more expensive. Um but yeah, I just thought that this was kind of surprising because I would have thought that Ghost of Yote for sure, even if it's doing exactly what Ghost of Tsushima did, it would have been more expensive. But, I said it's pretty much the same budget. So I imagine Hiroki Totoki's not upset about that. But I have another write up here from Push Square. It says Sucker Punch co founder Brian Fleming has shared comments on the firing of former employee Drew Harrison following her social media post surrounding the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Speaking to GameFile in a new interview, Fleming said, quote, Drew's no longer an employee here. I think we're aligned as a studio that celebrating or making light of someone's murder is a deal breaker for us, and we condemn that kind of in no uncertain terms. That's sort of our studio.
You can tell it's low budget.
And that's where
they
we are.
Using the same assets. Yotei is more like an expansion than a sequel.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what's funny though, Easy is like From Software is known to do that. But people like lose their mind over every new From Software. I mean, that's what they've been doing for a long time. And people are like, this is amazing. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not opposed to studios trying to bring, if this is what they need to do to bring their costs down. I think what will be expensive for Sucker Punch is if they want to do something completely new after Yote. That to me is what will, that's when you're going to see, I think, the budget really begin to increase. Because, yeah, they will have to build new assets, and they'll probably have to make changes to their engine. But I think it's impressive what they were able to achieve with Ghost of Tsushima with that budget, and seemingly what they're able to achieve here with Yote again with the same or similar budget. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that we already got confirmation from Sony previously that they fired this individual who made these comments. But now there is a direct statement from an interview with the head of Sucker Punch, and yeah, I mean, I think again, I think they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't. I'm glad. I'm very happy to see that. I thought, I thought all we were going to get was that confirmation from Sony that the Lee, I've already said, yeah, I am. I'm playing Ghost of Yotei. I guess not everybody. I've done quite a few streams, so I guess you may have missed that. But you think it's a half-assed apology? Well, that's what I mean, Wes. I feel like there are many. Listen, there are many people involved in this that if they actually got their way, it would put them out of business. I'm not talking about just like randos online. I'm talking about people who spring up movements. People are selfish. People are selfish and they're self-serving. This doesn't apply to one side or the other. This applies to all sides. There are many people involved that they don't give a shit. Ultimately, like all they want is keep it going, keep my numbers growing, keep my clicks flowing, I want to keep getting paid. And it's like I said, man, if half these people on all sides got exactly what they wanted, they would have, what would be left for them to do? To shut up and go away. That's what would be left for them to do. So it's in their best interest financially for them to not get their way. If they actually achieve what it is they advocate for, they would disappear. There would be no need for them. And the only reason I'm pointing this out is because this is why, people in this situation are quick to point out that it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. You got to be careful what you're going to say and who exactly you're saying it to. You got to be very clear about what you're trying to say. And, there are people who know, I have no doubt, came out and said, I want a statement from Sony or Sucker Punch. And then they get one. They're like, that's not good enough. And something tells me it's because nothing they do will be good enough. Because that's just how it was always going to be for certain people. And so, I'm glad they said this. That makes me feel, it makes me personally feel better. It's like, good. I'm glad to know that you guys understand that, like, the shit's not good. And you made it clear where you stand on that. I can respect that. But yeah, I absolutely do see the people out there. I see the people out there that you could give them everything they request on a silver platter plate and they'll throw it out in your face and say, nope. Gotcha. It's almost like a gotcha type thing where it's like they just want to see certain things completely gone and eradicated. And I get it. That's always existed, but I'm not interested in that because to me, that's too far out there. But yeah, like I said, I wanted to update you guys and let you know the Target's a ghost town now. Really? I haven't been to Target in a while, actually, now that you mention it. It's been quite some time. Target became like really big for a while. I don't know what's wrong with Target. I don't know. I don't pay close enough attention. Just go to Walmart or some shit. Dude, I hate Walmart. Oh my God, I hate Walmart. They got good deals sometimes, but I hate Walmart. Do you have no Target in Sweden? Target fell off after they took out all their DVDs. MBG, what do you think is worse? The firing of over 9,000 employees and shutting down studios, or the consistent price increases with no benefits to fund their pensions? I don't know, but both are happening. Target tried to launch in Canada, but they launched the stores half empty and left. Oh, geez. Walmart PS5 section has been upgraded. Yeah, I haven't been inside of a Walmart in a little while. I never liked Walmart. Like, I mean, actually going into a Walmart. But yeah, Ghost of Yote is like charting #1 on like many different territories or in many different. So it's clear that Yote is going to sell very well. And at this point, it does seem clear it's going to sell well. It's going to do well. Even with this controversy that just recently occurred, I think it's blowing over now, or it's beginning to settle down. Now I'm curious to see how it reviews. I think that's my main curiosity with Yote now. Like, I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it, but now I'm curious to see if it's going to review well. And that'll be the next thing. We're going to find that out in like 4 days. Well, there are a lot of people still saying they're not buying it, but this is where I think, we do have to keep in mind that, like, the internet and reality sometimes merge. Most times they're separate. And we have to look at certain things around us to kind of determine whether or not they're merging or if they're completely separate from one another. And from what I can tell, this instance of Ghost of Yote is the internet is separate from reality, and the fact that this game is charting at #1 in many different regions in pre-orders, and it's we're still like a week and a half away from release. It tells me that the internet, I think there are some people who would have bought it that aren't, but most people, I think it's kind of becoming clear that they weren't going to buy it anyway. You know what I mean? Like they weren't interested to begin with. And maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. I mean, we'll check the charts, and we haven't really, to be honest, Sony hasn't really been saying anything about sales of their games for some time. So I don't know if Sony would say anything. They probably wouldn't. But yeah, I'm thinking it's going to do fine. To be honest, here's the crazy part about talking about the budget. The crazy part is Ghost of Yote doesn't need to sell anywhere near as well as Ghost of Tsushima did to do well. That's the wild part. That's what I think is so fascinating about finding out the budget is the same. Yeah, maybe they'll talk about it in their earnings, but well, that's what they're going to do now. Yeah, I mean, even if it was an objective success, they would still try to find areas to say it's failing. And it's like, look, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel like some people begin to show their irrationality, Well, there you go. See, B Flesher. I appreciate that because I was kind of in the same boat, I just think, and to be fair, it doesn't have to be irrationality. It doesn't have to be that. It's like I'm saying, like, dude, look, there's a reason why many people are called grifters these days. And they're called that because that's kind of literally what they're, well, kind of literally, that's an oxymoron. That's pretty much to an extent what they're doing. And it's not everybody, and I'm not here to name names. I'm just saying that you got to be careful because it's like I said, man, selfish people are going to serve themselves first, and it's just easier to create more drama and create more hate and build upon that in a way to profit from it. Like that's everywhere. And I'm not saying doesn't mean that everything is rage bait. It doesn't mean everything's rage bait. It doesn't mean everything is clickbait or, meant to stir the pot. It's just there's a lot of people involved that their true intentions are exactly that. And it gets really mixed in with, unfortunately, people whose intentions are not that. And it makes it hard because there's so much going on at one time. There's so much noise and there's so much being said that everything just kind of begins to blend together and there's less of a separating factor. And I just think that's a little bit of what we continue to see with certain aspects of the internet and certain people on the internet. And I've definitely witnessed that myself the past 2 weeks very clearly, clear as day. And I get it, people are also, while we may be people are selfish and self-serving, people are also emotional. And what better way to evoke a reaction in somebody than to, you know, evoke their emotion, stir their emotion. Yeah. Yeah. No, GTA 6 is probably gonna sell like 20 million in like 1 week. Yeah. Dan, that's interesting. It's like, I heard somebody like told me recently, many serve the few and many should not serve the few, perhaps. Many suffer because of the few. And I've just been pondering that for some time where it's like, I guess it always has been like that, It always has been and always will be. The statement from Sucker Punch wasn't even an apology. It was lame damage control. Well, I think everybody's entitled to have their own personal expectations of what should or shouldn't be done. I'm not here, I'm not here to tell somebody whether or not they should be okay with this or like say this is good enough or not. I'm just here to say that I think it's good. And that probably they really, like, truthfully, they probably didn't have to say that. They could have just left it as it was, where they just fired the person and they were done with it and moved on. And Gavin, yeah, to be clear, I've already moved on, but this is one of those things where I'm just trying to be responsible in that I made it clear like 10 times that if they gave any type of statement, I would inform everybody. So that's why it is a topic again. But yeah, to me, it's again, you see the separation has occurred, and this is where I'll end it. I'll say one last thing, and then we'll just talk about whatever, because I think by that point I'm kind of done with the topics. But this separation has occurred where everybody who decided that, okay, well, that's over, we're just going to go play the game now or move on to something else. Everybody who's not trying to profit off of the drama has moved on. Anybody who's still on about it has a stick up their ass that, like, it's fine. I have a stick up my ass about things too. Like, it's normal. I'm not saying it's not. Everybody, I think, gets a stick up their ass sometimes. But I'm just saying in this particular instance, it's like, the cards have been played, man. Like, the game is over. Like, we know the dust has settled, is what I'm trying to say. So, open whichever door you want. Like, go down whatever path you want to go down, because it doesn't matter now. MBG, YouTuber. No, I don't know who that is. Is it a popular YouTuber? I've never heard of that name. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of people making negative comments on me these days. And I'm gonna be honest, man, I don't give a fuck. Like, I've tried going down that road before, and let me tell you, I like talk whatever shit you want, Like, I'm here to talk to my audience, you know what I mean? I think a lot of you, I think, have seen this. You've seen how yeah, it's exactly that. I literally, I could not become more apathetic if I tried to. I couldn't, because it's the same thing, man. Same shit, different day. It will never change. It's never going to change. And I realized that I was foolish. And at this point, I can say only a fool would believe it's going to change, or that you can change it. I'm here to talk to my audience, man. I'm here to create content for my audience and for people who enjoy it. And I have no problem, not in a rude way, just in an honest and upfront way, that, like, if my content isn't for you, or my personality isn't jiving with you, or whatever, it's totally fine to, move on and go find somebody else or somewhere else that does. But if you do like anything here, I hope you stay, and I hope you enjoy it, and I want you to enjoy it. But I'm not here to, not here to do anything other than just be my honest self. And if people want to fixate on that, I think it's obvious that people are becoming more and more fixated on things. I'm guilty of that too, and I think that's what people need to kind of be careful of. Where it's like, fixations can become obsessions, and obsessions can very easily, like, I mean, not very easily, but they usually are extremely problematic. And that's all I'm trying to, you know, advocate for ultimately here, is just, you know, don't get too don't ever go too far out there with anything, cuz you're never going to end up in a good place. The further you go out, no matter how good it may seem, it's, how the saying goes though, right? Like, too much of a good thing becomes a bad thing. So even if you are going far out there with something that's good, you're going to ruin it. You're going to turn it bad. Don't ruin a good thing, you know? Um all right. Yeah, you got to try your best to stay balanced. Yeah, did you just quote Patrick Starr? Damn, dude. Will Hancock, a member for 22 months, says, "Are you going to get the Yote Platinum?" Probably. I guess it depends on how similar it is to Tsushima's. Tsushima's, I remember, wasn't too difficult. One of the things I appreciated so much about Ghost of Tsushima's Platinum is there were a lot of collectibles. They only ask you to get like 20 of them for the trophy. And I'm like, that's incredible. Like, every studio needs to do this, where you have this massive open world and you have like 100 plus collectibles. Um, make it a trophy, but only make it, where you get like 20 or 25, and you get it naturally just for going for some of them. And if you want to get the rest, you're free to do that. Yeah, to me, that is the perfect solution. And god damn, I hope they do that again. If they have, well, they're clearly going to have collectibles. Because for open world games like this, usually the big thing that turns me off is collectibles. Uh, and so as long as this game isn't like asking to become a collectathon, I probably will get it. Yeah, there's a good chance I'll get it. It's unlikely I won't, unless there's something like ridiculous there. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the story plays out. We'll see. That's why the reviews are going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what the reviewers have to say about the story. Obviously, they're not going to spoil it, but I'm curious to see what some reviewers say, because they're the story of Yote is inevitably going to be compared to the story of Tsushima.
What about Battlefield 6? You going to stream it?
Um, gosh, yeah, the Battlefield 6 is creeping up too. Hopefully, we'll see. Will I really enjoyed what I played a lot of Battlefield 6 and I want to play it. Um it's just a matter of it's one of these things where it's like I want to play Silent Hill, I want to play Yote, but then about yeah, I mean, yeah, Battlefield, I don't know, man. I'm going to play it at some point. I just don't know if I'll be there at launch. That's the problem. This is what I hate. Like I hate this time of the year to a degree because you just have all these games dropping at literally the same time, dude. And even it's not even like a money issue even, it's just like I don't have the time. Like Battlefield 6 is going to be a game like trust me when I played the beta I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to get hooked on this, dude." And then before you know it, I'm going to be playing this and nothing else. It's happened many times before. So it's like I got these single player games I want to prioritize first, but I also want to take my time with them and not rush them and maybe try to platinum them. But I really did enjoy my time with Battlefield, so I want to get it at some point. I just can't promise I'll be there at launch day. It's too much, man. Yeah, it's too. I don't know why it's like this. I know it's because like the holiday season, but you know. Um, guys, so we're approaching the 2.5 hour mark. I'm probably not going to extend the stream for too long today, just because we didn't really have that many topics to discuss, and things are very. It's like the calm before the storm, seemingly. So I don't want to like just stretch it out for the sake of it. So we'll do like a last call here. I think we'll wrap this stream up in a couple minutes. So if you want to drop any support, we're sitting at 31 members. So thank you for that. If you want to drop any more memberships or super chats or direct donations, if you want to become a member, now would be the time. No world premiere today, Rich. I'll save it for the next members lounge. Okay. Save them up for the next members lounge. We'll listen in, maybe. We'll see. I think I've given you too much power here, Rich. You've heard people saying that the next Rockstar game will probably be a medieval title. What do I think of that? Oh, I have no idea. I I think the next Rockstar game is going to be Red Dead Redemption 3. Am I streaming tomorrow? I probably will be. Yeah. Yeah, just I don't know. It seems like right now things are really, you know, it seems like things are really kind of it's low tide, but I think it is the calm before the storm because it's clear that there's a lot happening this upcoming week. So it's that kind of awkward silence. What do I use for my beard? What do you mean? I don't use anything for my beard. I probably should, but I probably should moisturize it or something, I get dry skin patches sometimes. It's very annoying. As always, Sony will announce the state of play at the same time MBG goes live. Probably 12 Eastern tomorrow. World premiere. MBG is going to Xbox in 2027. There you go. Yeah, the Resident Evil 9 leaked Leon image was fake. It looked convincing, I would say, to a degree. People really wanted that to be Leon, dude. That's the crazy part. People were like really upset to find out it was fake. They wanted punished Leon, bro. That's interesting, MacTube. Leon Snake. I would like to play Silent Hill F. Yeah. The trouble I'm having now is the thing is if I buy Silent Hill F this week, then I'll have to basically accept that I'm going to play Silent Hill F while playing Ghost of Yote, and I got to think about that one cuz I know there's a good chance I'm not going to rush through Silent Hill. That's the thing. I'm not going to ever rush through games. So it's a matter of just trying to figure out like what I want to do first. Where like if I get Silent Hill this week, knowing that the next week I'm going to get Ghost of Yote, assuming I'm not done with Silent Hill F when Ghost of Yote drops, I'm going to put Silent Hill on the back burner. You know? And then like by the time I'm finished with Yote, then I'll go back to Silent Hill. And it's like, well, I should have just waited to buy Silent Hill then. Yeah, Lost Soul Aside kind of came and went. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I definitely I want to play Silent Hill F. I'm hearing really, really good things about it. But you know, Yote's coming up at there. I just wish these games. This is what I mean. Like, I just wish these games weren't launching at the same fucking time, dude. Drives me nuts. We already talked about that. Yeah, that's not real. That's not a thing. You go check it out on the Gaming Leaks Rumor subreddit. But guys, all right, I think this is going to be a good place to wrap up the stream. We'll keep it at a solid 2.5 hours. We did get through all the topics today. So before I wrap this up, guys, I want to extend a big thank you to everybody who tuned in live or anybody who's going to watch it later on. Thank you for your viewership. Thank you for your support. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. Make sure you hit the like button, by the way. We're almost at 150 likes. But yeah, we have probably a lot going on this week, so make sure you have notifications turned on. But yeah, if you dropped any memberships, super chats, direct donations, if you supported the channel in any way directly, thank you so much. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the stream. So if you guys see him in the comments, give him some love, show him some thanks. I know he appreciates it. And yeah, guys, that pretty much does it. So like I said, make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We should have a Shoney show coming very soon. And yeah, exciting times ahead. So, all right, guys, get some gaming in as well. That's important too. But that's it. I'll catch you in the next one. Till then, take care, everyone.